year. Now today I want to speak about another great rabbi, Rabbi Avraham Elhadad, Zecher Tzadik Livracha, great rabbi of his time. Actually, this week marks the week when he was actually born, interesting enough. He was born in the year 1941, actually on Gimel Elul. At the moment, at time of recording, I think we're on Vav Zayin Elul today, so happens to mark this week. He passed away, I believe, on the 18th of Kislev in the year 2021, quite recently, only about 4 years ago, just under 4 years ago, 3.5 years ago here from the time of recording, a week before Hanukkah, it was of that year. Now he became the Rosh Mosdot of Otzar for a staggering 50 years in the city of Sarsal, I think very close to Paris in France. Remember, spoke about the Otzar Torah Education Network on various occasions before we actually recorded an entire video exploring the history, let's just say, within regards to the school network respectively. So he very much had a huge role in chinuch, in education. Was a pioneer of education, let's just say, internationally, and especially in France in its day. Let's explore a few of the highlights of the great rabbi's life. Now, he was born, I think it was in Fez, in Morocco, and he came from great rabbinic auspices. I believe his father's name was Rabbi Yehuda Elhadad, and his mother's name was Rabbanit Jamila, if I'm not mistaken. Obviously, it's very interesting. He would learn while he was young in the famous yeshiva in Tangier called Yeshivat Etz Chaim, inside that vicinity in of itself. So that was at a young age. I think come on the year 1964, he'll be appointed as a menahel yeshiva, Yeshivat Tochnit, I think in the city of Tangier. Very, very prominent position. This was over there, and he'd only be about, at that stage in time, 23 years of age. Come on, 1965, he'd be about 23, 24 years of age, approximately, at that stage in time. He would get married to Nisa, I think her name was Madlan Weizmann, if I'm not mistaken. And they actually, I think, were descended from the famous Chida. We're talking about Rabbi Chaim Yosef David Azilei, one of the most famous rabbis in Jewish history, different from the last few hundred years. Also popularly known as Chida, was the author of various different great Torah books. The Chida was, and the Chida himself was from a line of very great Moroccan rabbis, and we mentioned about maybe good 4, 5, 6 of the rabbis that were very much closely family related to the Chida, and we mentioned various different stories connected to Rabbi Chaim Yosef David Azilei in this series also. So I think they would live in Tangier over there. Now, come with the year 1969, he would, I think, move at that point in time to the city of Sarsel, obviously very close to Paris in France, and they would form, I think, the Talmud Torah Emet over there. This would be under the chinuch, the educational branch network of Otzar Torah. Otzar Torah, we've spoken about on various occasions before, was a wide network, a strong Torah education for people, especially in North African countries and from Sephardic communities, respectively. I think they had more than 100 school networks across the globe, even more possibly, at different stages of time. And he will, I think, over there in Sarsel itself, he'll become, he actually open school education framework for women, for girls also, and kindergartens, school networks for younger people also, and the Mitivta, I think, also, where many thousands of students will actually, for over the years, will actually sprout and become, get a Torah brilliance from that specific place, vicinity in of itself. Okay, now it's actually interesting. He went on to do workings for the congregation, let's just say, for the Jewish community inside the Eir, with regards to promoting Torah and mitzvot, respectively. And the Kehila itself, many of them would get a strong education and educate other people over there. Help out, let's just say, people that weren't as great in Torah, and really promote Torah to an infinite level over there. And I think many of the children come with, in regards to an imbuement of Torah with religious education, Batei Knesiot to be promoted over there. He would help within regards to forming synagogues, within regards to mikvaot also, and many Shurei Torah will actually be perpetuated thanks to him. And it's actually interesting. I think he would eventually, he was very close to the Rabbanim of all over France. Also, remember, France now boasts a huge Jewish community. So all over France, he was corresponding with various great rabbis and was seen as a very, very important key figure in French Jewry, respectively. Now, come what the year 2019, after spending a staggering 50 years working in Sarsal, he would eventually make Aliyah to Eretz Israel, and I think he would become very much an integral part of Beit Dagan in the holy city, capital city of Israel, of Jerusalem. Beit Dagan is a place we visited on various occasions before. So he would spend more than around 2 years, last couple of years of his life. I think in November 2021, he was actually received a medal, if I'm not mistaken, of the Abir HaChinuch, very, very prominent accolade, let's just say, in of itself. I think from the Memshala, from the royal, let's just say the government of France, that would actually recognize the great work he did in education for the 50 years he was in Sarsal, respectively, which was very, very prominent and very, very great. Now, he passed away, I think in 2021, he would actually travel to Morocco, if I'm not mistaken. I think maybe to visit his parents, let's just say, I think their keva at that stage in time. And I think when he was actually traveling back to Eretz Yisrael, I think he fell, if I'm not mistaken. He would actually be inside the Beit Cholim, the hospital in Tangier, I think for weeks of a period of time. On Yud Chet Kislev, the 18th of Kislev, this was 22nd of November in 2021, he sadly passed away. He did. That's actually interesting. I think the king of Morocco, Mohammed Hashishi, if I'm not mistaken, was actually close to him. He would actually speak to, at that point in time, was there, offered condolences, and actually, I think, visited the hospital, if I'm not mistaken. And his body was, I think, flown at the end, and he was buried, I believe, in the Beit Chaim cemetery, I think by Yeshivat Ponovich, if I'm not mistaken. He was. I think that would have been very, very shortly afterwards. בחלקת הרבנים בבית חיים של נציבי ישיבת פוnovich, respectively. Now, he came from various great rabbis also. If you remember, he was close to Yeshivat Etz Chaim, and had a close connection with Rav Zusha Valtna, who we've spoken about before. Also, Rabbi Yisachar Meir. Remember, Rabbi Yisachar Meir was a great Lithuanian rabbi, but had very close connections with many of the great students in Morocco and the great rabbis over there. I think Rabbi Yisachar Meir was Rosh Yeshiva of Yeshiva Negev at one point in time. Also, there was another great rabbi he was close to, Rabbi Moshe Shalas, if I'm not mistaken, who was of the Mechonah Chafetz Chaim HaKatan, if I'm not mistaken. Now, among his family, Rabbi Elhadad, very, very interesting. I think they had, if I'm not mistaken, a daughter and 4 sons, including Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Aryeh Yehuda Elhadad, who would become the Rosh Yeshiva of Torah in a place in Bnei Brak, respectively. I think his Chatan happened to have been Rabbi Tzvi Fadil also, and Rabbi Shlomo Elhadad, who was part of the Irgun Darshu B'Tzarfat, also respectively. Now, great Torah books, Torah works, will be actually left within regards to him, including, also we have to point out, I think a year before he passed away, in the year 2020, it came out, his book with the Stedret HaSfarim, Zichron Chasdo, which is on Torah, on the Moadim, and I think it's actually divided up into 5 different krachim, 5 different volumes, we have to point out also. So it's interesting. Another one of his rabbis, who we have to point out, included a very famous rabbi, a rabbi of the name Rabbi David Barchen was his rabbi. He himself, I think, passed away, I think, in the year 2011. He was a great rabbi in Israel. I think he was rabbi of Sderot for nearly 40 years. He was one of the great Moroccan rabbis, he was. And it's actually interesting. He had many great students, Rabbi Barchen, which included Rabbi Avraham Elhadad. So if Rabbi Avraham Elhadad was one of his students, there was other great students of his that were probably close also to Rabbi Elhadad also, including Rabbi Shlomo Shlush, also Rabbi Sadi Aribi, Rabbi Yoram Abarjel, one of the famous Kiruv rabbis without doubt of the last 50 years in Israel. He was, I think he passed away, he was only 58 years of age when he passed away in 2015. Also, Rabbi Aryeh Gamliel, who became a Knesset member for 15 years of the Shas political party. Also, Rabbi Tzvi Fadidia, who would actually become the Chatan of them. So it's actually interesting. So both Rabbi Tzvi Didier, who will become, I think, his son-in-law, if I'm not mistaken, and Rabbi Elhadad themselves will be Talmidim of the famous Rabbi David Baruch, who was the great rabbi. Also among this class of students of Rabbi David Baruch included Rabbi Raphael Al-Karif, another great rabbi, and Rabbi Shlomo Varsha, also respectively. So Rabbi David Baruch, we actually recorded a video not so long ago within regards about him. He was a rabbi of Sderot, as we said before, for on many, many occasions. He left actually great rabbanim also, and was also an Torah author, and was a very, very important rabbi of his time period. He would actually be a rabbi also, just like Rabbi Elhadad was a prominent rabbi in Morocco. He also took Rosh of Bet Din roles, head of Jewish court roles in Safra, in Marrakesh, and in Fes, also respectively. And I believe he was very close to Rabbi Shaul ibn Danan, also at various different stages of the time. If I'm not mistaken, he would, as well as being a rabbi in Jerusalem for various different years, also taking on various important roles, especially in Morocco, and his various different connections. It could be that he was also connected to France also at some stage in time. He was also learning in Yeshivat Ponevezh at one stage in time, having a close relationship with Rabbi Yosef Shlomo Kahanaman, also when he made Aliyah to Eretz Yisrael in year 1950. But he was definitely another important person of that specific crowd. Another one of the rabbis we mentioned about before of Rabbi Avraham Elhadad was Rabbi Yisachar Meir, also, who was close. He actually spent time in Morocco. He was the Rosh Yeshiva of Yeshivat Negev in the Tzivot, and the author of various books, including Sachar, the Sachir, if I'm not mistaken. I think Rabbi Yisachar Meir passed away in the year 2010, in December, actually, right at the end of 2010. And he was a rabbi, I think, of Safona Negev, in the Tzivot, also, was also part of the Yeshiva Ponevezh, which we've spoken about before. And he had various other students also, including Rabbi Yoram Abargel, Rabbi Yitzchak Yosef, most notably, I think he's the chief rabbi he was of Israel, Rabbi Aaron Pfeiffer, if I'm not mistaken, Rabbi Yaakov Friedman, Rabbi Yaakov Horowitz, various different great rabbis, respectively. And he would have a prominent role in Casablanca in Morocco for several years. He formed the Yeshivat Gavoa, the Seminar Haredi for the Banot, for the women over there, and was a prominent rabbi in Tangier also, respectively, and would spend several years in Morocco, I think, becoming also a ram in Yeshivat Bnei Akiva Kfar Hara for, I think, several years, also very interesting. That's Rabbi Yisachar Meir. I hope we will record a video about him maybe nearer the time of his Hilula. So we spoke about Rabbi Avraham Elhadad over here, a great rabbi of his time, and a rabbi we've spoken about on various occasions before, passed away about 3.5 years ago, just over that. He was working a staggering 50 years in education, part of the network, the Otzar network of education framework in Eretz Yisrael. So that is also very important. He passed away in 2021, and much more can be said within regards to that. So, friends, so there's actually a lot chronicled over him, about him, I think, various occasions before. I think there's a title of the Harab Elhadad B'Kabbalat Medalya Mamshelet Sarfat that was very, very much well documented, I think, in various different newspapers and outlets also in Morocco, and talk about how the king of Morocco actually had a connection to him. I think Amir Bukhbot actually spoke and actually said that in Maaseh Kadosh Yoter. So he actually chronicles over about the connection he had with the king of Morocco, respectively. Many of the great North African rabbis that had connections with the royalties of the country they were in, and were seen at a very high esteem by many, many of the peoples, and that actually includes definitely Rabbi Avraham Elhadad in this point in time. Now, friends, we're a community here. We're learning about the great rabbis yesteryear. If you happen to descend from any of the great rabbis we're speaking about, please send me an email. I would love to hear more information. If you feel anyone is interested in watching any of these videos, please share these videos also to other people also, and please join the community. We're going from strength to strength. We're nearing staggering 7,500 subscribers at the moment, which is a phenomenal achievement. And if you've got any ideas, we also record videos on not just great rabbis this year. We're trying to explore the various yeshivot in the Sephardic countries. We're trying to explore the school networks in the Sephardic countries, the famous synagogues also. The sky is the limit with what we're trying to do. And also we also record with a special Jewish personality every single day, one that's very inspirational in current year. Also we try and concentrate on another project that we're working on in this series is also we do video on Daf Yomi, daily tidbit of the daily Gemara every single day. We try and explore, and we also record videos on Parshat Shvuah and current events, so on and so forth. So on that note, wishing you well. Thanks for taking time to watch and subscribe to the channel.